Okay, so for every column, we need to specify the data type that will be inside. So if it's going to be names, we know that it can't be numbers. The data type can't be integers. We can tell SQL that this column is country name, and then the type of data that will be inside will be variable character. I explained what variable character is in the last class, meaning it is the type of it's the data type that you use to carry strings, to input strings in SQL. You know that in Excel, it was plain text. But in SQL, it's either character, that is char, the CHAR data type, or the varchar, which is variable character. So variable character can store a variable number of strings. So you can use variable character to store email addresses, house addresses, country name, country ID, phone numbers, things like that. So specifying the data type of the column you are creating in a table is just telling SQL that if anything that they put there, maybe you've told us, yeah, this place has to be integers. Anybody that wants to input anything in that column and it's not integer, SQL will not allow that input to stay. So that is how the databases work. So the language that we use to create data in SQL is called data definition language. You know that in Excel, we just select the cell and we type what we want. It doesn't work like that in SQL. You have to write a query to load the database with the data you want to put. So you write SQL statements. I know that I said that in the last class that the way you end sentences with full stop, in SQL, you end your statement with semicolon, if you remember. So we write different statements. There are different types of languages in SQL. There's data definition, data manipulation languages. There are like 6 different types. I'll be focusing on data definition and data manipulation language. So you see all those create database, create table, use table, all those things are data definition language. You are defining the type of data that will be in the database, create table, and specifying the type of characters that will be in each column. That is also part of the data definition language. So I'm going to share my screen for my workbench. So I'll now explain to you what each of these things that we ran, what they mean. So this statement says create table if not exist. Philip, can you please unmute?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so you know I said SQL is simple English. What do you think that this statement that I highlighted in blue, what do you think it will do?
What I think it to do is that like if there is not a table for like the if there's not a table for countries, it will create one.
Exactly. So create table if it doesn't exist. Countries, finish. So you'll see that if you check, you know, I deleted my own database. So there's no, let me refresh and see. Okay, there's no data in my database. So if I run this now, if I select only this and I run it, it will create the table. Okay, I didn't select to the end because this, like I said, this semicolon is the end of the statement. SQL told me that I didn't write my syntax well. Can you see? So if I refresh now, you see that there is only countries table in my database because that's the only part of the script that I ran. So if I want to run the whole script, I won't select anything. I'll just click this thunder and everything will run. And if I refresh my database, you see that all of the different tables that were specified will be created. So let me now explain how each table was created. This code is not hard. Create table if it doesn't exist. That's Create table if not exists. And then you specify the name of the table. Remember that the name of the table is a string, so you have to put it in quotation marks. Phillips, you understand why this is in
Yes,
quotation
yes.
marks and everybody. So after you've specified the name of the country in quotation marks, then you now start, you put in brackets every name of the column that you want. So I can see all there are just three things in quotation marks. Say, do you see? Those three things are the three names of the columns that would be in the countries table. Let me select the countries table so that you can see it. You can see there's column, country ID, country name, and region ID. Can you see?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you just told this script is telling SQL that create this table, first column should be country ID, and it should take variable character, not more than two. Do you understand? And it must not
Yeah.
be null, meaning it must not be empty. So if anybody wants to put data in this table and
Sorry,
they, I'm with
why
you,
is a variable character? Why is there two in the bracket?
because they said that they want country ID to not be more than two characters. Look at the table. Country ID is two characters. Nobody has more
Okay,
than two characters. Do you understand?
okay.
So be it for Belgium, because I told you that Vanca can take as many characters as you want. See, here is 40. Here is 2. You have to specify what you want. So all of these constraints are the things that help your data to be correct and doesn't allow anybody to mess up. You know that in Excel now, you can type country ID A, Belgium, B. Another person will come and use that spreadsheet and put D at the back of your B and it becomes bed instead of country code. Do you understand? But if you have specified to SQL that this column, if anybody wants to put data there, it must be two letters, right? That's what you have there. So they've told you that it should be country ID that can take two letters and must not be empty. Now, this one, they said it should be country name that can take up to 40 characters. And the default settings of that column should be null. So this one can be null. Do you understand? Everybody, Ludele, Sam, if you're in a quiet place, unmute. So let me know you understand.
Yeah, please, I sent a message to the chat.
Okay,
The
so
book
Phillips, do you
is
understand?
Yes,
Oludele,
to
do
an
you
extent, I'm
understand?
understanding you.
So I'm
Okay.
yes.
getting it. But
Okay.
okay, for country ID, it said not null. But for country name,
Because
it said default
con
null.
exactly, I will get to that point. So
Okay,
it's
it's in there.
saying,
Sorry.
no, yeah, it's I like the way you're thinking, like yeah, you're trying to figure it makes sense. I like that you're doing that. It really means you're following me and you're trying to understand what is happening here. So then it now specified that region ID has to be a decimal, right? If you check, it has to be
Mm.
it has to be a decimal, but zero place value.
10,0.
Yeah, so you can see it can actually specify this as an integer. If I were the one, I would just say int. I won't say
Okay, I
decimal,
get.
right?
I wanted to ask it that I mean before you mentioned this integer, that all these integer strings and boolean and co, does it also apply to this?
Yes, it applies to SQL. Or, like I said, is the data word general. There's like just a specific number of data types, date, time, variable character, strings now, in Excel, I said just strings, but in SQL now, they've broken down strings into variable character and character. Don't worry, as you work more with SQL, you understand a lot of them better. So these are the three columns, and they specify that this one must not be null, and this one may be null on default. That is until it is populated. You just put the country table the column names, you've not populated it with any number. Sure, this is just defining what the table should look like. in the schema, in the database. Do you understand? So now there's this thing that they did here. They said primary key is country ID. You see, the fact that they want to use country ID as the primary key, that is why country ID must not be null. So now let's go back to my content that I was explaining. And I will read through it, and then you would understand what and why. Wait, Oludele Victory, I can't see the picture you sent to. Please, please, everyone, don't forget to fill attendance. I know that there are just 4 of us here, but I like that the 4 of us fill attendance. So I'm trying to retrieve, I'm trying to switch my screen to the content. Okay. So before we even talk about querying from a data table, where am I? Let me go to the very beginning where we define. Sorry, I
Think you
thought we
before
were
we reach
going to
that place.
I thought we were going to start from querying table. I did not know that we did not understand everything that I taught in the last class. Okay, so we've done creating a new database and then creating a new table. Okay, exactly. So you see in this place now, they specify this is an SQL code. This person said use land. That means they want to use the land database, right? And they said in land, though, create table continent. Do you understand? And then they specify that in this table, specify continent ID as an integer. The way I said, I would have used integer instead of decimal and zero decimal places. Do you understand? So they did continent ID should be an integer. Continent name should be a variable character not longer than 20, right? And population can be a big integer, meaning that it can run into billions of it can run into billions, meaning it can take more digits. Big integer takes more than normal integer. Do you understand? So this query now, it first lets you create a database called land and then use that database and then you now create a table in the database. It is important that you name your table with a descriptive name so that when you want to query it, you don't start thinking, Kinimoso table me, like, what's the name of the table? So the parentheses helps you to wrap all of your code like in one sentence. Putting it in brackets is how so it's in the bracket that you specify everything you want for the table. So for every column that you create, after you've defined the character, you put a comma. And then you write the next column and you define the character and then you put a comma. Till you get to the last column and you close your brackets and you put your semicolon and you've reached the end of the statement. So when you run, well, if we run this code now in SQL, it will create database name land and it will create a table in land that will have continent ID, continent name, and population columns. Oludele Victory and Esther, do you understand? Hey,
We're
Phillips.
talking about different table now.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, like, do you understand the old general syntax of creating a database and creating a table and why we have to specify the type of character in it?
Understand.
I didn't hear you. Phillips, do you understand?
Yes, I'm understanding you, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So after you've created your database, so all of those parts where they mentioned in the data in the scripts you have opened on your own end, there are some places they specified primary key. They specified it there that the primary key should be the country ID, I think. So there's something in SQL called constraints. So constraints are like rules that you create in the database so that all your data has integrity, meaning that every data that you input there, follow the specific rule that you set. If you say, okay, I only want phone numbers in this column, nobody will come there and be able to put text. If you say, okay, you want only numbers in this column, nobody will come there and come and put decimal points. Do you understand? So in creating those constraints allow your database to have a very defined structure, and it helps keep your data correct and consistent. So one of the constraints that we use in SQL, they are primary keys, foreign keys, not null, like that. All of those extra codes that you saw at the end of the code to create the table. So primary keys are like a unique identifier that identifies a table. So let's say that you have a table, like a table of countries, the one we created, and then we have country code. Okay, we have the country code, which is in more than 2 digits. We have the country name, and then we have the region ID. For as best practice in SQL, you need to select one column in that table that will uniquely identify every entry in that table, meaning that it won't let you have duplicate entries. So if your customer ID, I said customer, country ID, if your country ID is your unique column, it means that no country must have the same thing as unique as their country ID. So the way there is Nigeria and then there is Niger, if you have used NG for Nigeria, if you put NG again for Niger, SQL will not let you write it. You have to pick another set of characters. So that is what defining primary key is. So take, for instance, this example table that I have highlighted here. The primary key here is their customer ID. So irrespective of the customer name, customer type, or customer address, customer one is customer one. Everything that customer one does in that company is unique to customer one in their record. Do you understand? And if customer one has not yet been, if customer one has not yet been specified, you cannot have customer two. If customer two has not yet been specified, you cannot have customer three. That's what it means when you say you put not null. It means that this place must not be empty. If it's empty, you cannot populate the other remaining columns. Do you understand? So it's just the way we put a serial number when we are writing attendance. You know, if you skip one serial number, there might be 20 students in the class and you can only count 19 numbers. Are we together? Don't worry, I'll send these content to you so that you'll be able to read and internalize, and then you understand how primary keys function. Do you understand? So the primary key is the one that uniquely identifies every entry in the table. No two entries should have the same primary key. That's the point of a primary key. That's why it must not be null. It must have a number. It's just like your social security number or your ID card number. You cannot have ID card of a company and you don't have a number. Do you understand? So it is what uniquely identifies every record in the table. Now you can have more than one column as the primary key. You can try to use two, right? But it is important that every table you create has a unique identifier. You have to specify the primary key in that table. And it has to be one of the columns that you created. So for the scripts we were looking at, they used country ID as the primary key. Phillips, do you understand now?
Yes, ma'am.
It's clear now what they did here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then after that, since they've already created the table, The only thing they did next was to dump data into the table. So they just inserted variables into the table. So insert into the name of the table under each specific column that they had already created, and then they specify the values. The values being for row 1, AR, Argentina, region ID 2, AU, Australia, region ID 3. Do you understand? So they just kept dumping the data till they got to the end and they ended their statement. And this thing, this query here, this query populated the table. The first query created the table. Do you understand? Phillips and Esther, do you understand?
So we're following you, ma.
Okay, so this created the
Sorry, repeat
table.
it. You said the first query
This
populated
query
table,
that
the
I
second
highlighted
entry.
in blue, let me share my screen. Let me share my workbench. In short, let me share entire screen so that you can see everything I'm doing. Can you see my workbench and the parts that I highlighted in blue?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this query created the table. Just the way we used to rule table in our notes, we have created the table with this query. Now we have filled in data into the table with this query. This is also another data definition language. Insert into, you specify the name of the country and then name the columns that you want
Okay.
the data to be inserted into, and then you now specify the value that you want to put in the column. So if you wanted to only put one line of data, this is enough. If you wanted, but then they want to put like whether 20 something lines, and they specified, remember they said country ID cannot be null. So they put the country ID, they put the country name, and then they put the region ID. And because they defined them as you can see how they did everything because they defined the character types. You can see that the table took all of those things. This is the table. Those things were populated because it was in line with the character type that was specified when they were creating the table of countries. So they did the exact same thing for departments. They created the table and then they filled it with data. Do you understand?
Sorry, I didn't
Mm.
see the table though. I mean, the ones that the already formed table. Where
Okay,
did you
so if you
create
want
it?
to see the table, you right click the table and you click on select rows and it will open here. So select rows, it will open here. Can you see? Can you see it?
Yes.
So
Yes,
when
we
you
can.
do
Let's
select row,
Repeat the steps, sorry, ma.
I'm not going to repeat the steps, so you go and watch the video because we're almost at the end of the class. Obanjesu. I'm so sorry. Time is fast spent. So I think that I've been able to explain how tables are created in databases and how they are populated. So if it is two columns you have, when you create your table, you name your two columns. And then when you want to dump data, you make sure that your data is for the two columns. Now let's go back to this country ID. I think this is the smallest table. So you see that for every entry, they close the bracket, put a comma, and start the second entry. Close the bracket, put a comma, and start the third entry. So it's just copying these templates. Open bracket, country column, comma, country name, comma, region ID. So open bracket, country column, comma, country name, comma, country ID, close the bracket, put a comma. Second entry, third entry, fourth entry. Do you understand? But
yes.
if you're not typing in your data manually, if you imported from Excel or anywhere else, it's even easier. All you just need to do is to, where is it now? I don't have any Excel. I don't have any Excel file here, sha. But you can do table imports, table data import. You can use this table data import wizard. And then it will ask you where is the data you want to import. Once you specify the file path, let me just pick a random file. So there's nothing there. Let me check here next so that there will be something here. Let me check McKinsey. So sorry, because I didn't plan to import anything, but I think I have something in Explore AI that is a data
You do
type.
Python.
Yes, I do. I told you Python is like a necessary skill to have as a data analyst, but it's not something you need before you can do data analysis. You can do data analysis without Python. So this is a spreadsheet tool. If I open it now, that's the file part. And then let's assume that my data, I'm not typing it in manually. Do you understand? Maybe I'll just create the table manually and then I know where my data is. So it will not ask me, do I want to create a new table or I want to use an existing table? If I want to use an existing table, I just need to specify which table I want to use. If I don't want to use an existing table, I can create a new table, but I need to specify the database I want to create the table in. Do you understand? You're following me, right? And then I'll now put the name of the table that I want to create. And if I know maybe, like I said, you made a mistake, I can drop the table if it already exists. If the table does not exist, no wahala. I will let me just import this straight from Excel. It will ask me the type of character. This is the table. This is the table that I'm importing. It's on water type for countries. So it's telling me that what are these columns? So I need to specify the type of data that is in there. Do you understand? I know that text is integer, year is integer. I can even make it a date time because it's year. But because it's not a date time format exactly, I will just change it back to integer. By population, water, like all of the different columns in the table, which you can see, and I'll say, yes, I'm fine with it. If I tell it to, if I click on next, it will start importing the data. So I'm just trying to show you the different ways you can bring the data into your database. It doesn't have to, you don't have to type in everything manually. Especially if it is a lot of data, you can import straight from CSV files, you can import straight from Excel files, so long as they are on your system. Then I click on next. And I finish. I'll refresh. You can see that the table is already here. It didn't import the data well because I don't know, maybe I didn't select the right types for it, but you can see all of the columns that were named. I don't need this table, I'm going to drop it. Drop. I'm going to drop the table and it's no longer there. But I just wanted to show you how you can import data. Aside from writing it in the script, you can also import it from your spreadsheet too. Do you understand? So that is it with, so if you want to insert record into your data table, there's a syntax for the insert. So we'll get there. When we want to specifically deal with those, we'll get there. So let's just go on with what I was explaining. So I said that one of the constraints we use is primary keys. Primary keys helps make sure that your data has good integrity, there is no duplicity of data, and then you don't have a situation where maybe one data does not have the right tag. Do you understand? So it will also not let you have unnecessary null values in your data sets. So your primary key does not necessarily have to be only one column. You can use two columns as a primary key. You can create multiple columns as you can select multiple columns as a primary key. So when you're choosing the primary key columns, you can choose primary key city. That's the name of the first column, then the name of the second column. But if it is just one column you want to use, all you just need to do is specify the name of the original column you want to use for your primary key. And I think it is proper for your primary key to be the first column in your table. If it's even just random serial number, it should be the first column in your table. Do you understand? Now, I told you that in a database, you can have more than one table. Like we see here in this database that we have like 7 tables. We have a countries table, department table, employee table, job table, region table, location table, like that. So sometimes there are some columns that are existing in like this region table now. Let me select region table so that you can see it. Let me put it beside country table. If we select all of the data from country table, you can see it has country ID, country name, and region ID. If you select all of the data from the region table, it still has the same region IDs that we have here in the country. Region IDs are here and region name is here. So this is telling us that, this is like a reference table for the country table that anyone that is region 3, we can come and look for it in region table and see that, okay, region 3, that country is in Asia. Do you understand? So because you can have multiple tables, you can also have constraint and rules specified in all the multiple tables that you have. And that's where foreign keys come in. I said primary key uniquely identifies data in a table. Now, foreign keys is when you now reference a primary key in another table. So in this region table now, in the region table, you can see there's the 2 columns. This is the information for the table. You can see it on this lower left side. The name of the table is region. There are only 2 columns there, region ID and region name. And region ID is the primary key. Let me expand this thing so that you can see what I'm saying. Region ID is the primary key. Can you see it? Philip, can you see it? Philip is no longer following me.
Then I can see.
Okay, so you can see that region ID, this first column, is the primary key here. So, but countries table also references this exact same region ID. So in the case of the countries table, region ID is a foreign key, meaning that it took the primary key from another table and it is referencing it. So let me explain with my notes what foreign key does. A foreign key is a column that matches tables together. So it matches table to the primary key of another table. So, I told you that every table has their own primary key that I used to define the unique values in those tables. So you can now match primary keys of different tables together in your own table. So let's say, there's a region table that has unique rows and unique columns. And then you want to reference that, okay, so these countries belong in this region. You have to find a way to bring the region ID from region table to country table. So doing that, if the region ID is a primary key there, it will be a foreign key in the country table. This is a wonderful thing in SQL because it helps you to join tables together. When you need to write queries that you need to join results from different tables together, foreign keys helps you to establish a relationship between the 2 tables that you want to join together so that you can have one result set that will contain all the data you need from the 2 different tables that you have created. Please, do you understand? Don't worry. As we start to run queries, you understand. Philip, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here and I'm coming, I'm going, but I'm here, I'm following.
Are you following this way? Please follow. I don't want us to revisit this thing again next week. Okay, so let's now try to see. Okay, let me give you like an example here. So in this sample table that we're using in this content that I'm using. They have a complaints table, then they have a customer table. In their complaints table, every complaint has a complaint ID. And in their customer table, every customer has a customer ID. So in their customer table, they have first name of customers, last name of customers, address of customers. And you know that people can bear the same last name, the same first name, and they can even live at the same address. But their customer ID can be unique because they can't allot same customer ID to different people. And that is where that's what makes the primary key wonderful, right? So they've created this table, customer ID is the primary key. And they have this complaints table where they have complaints and then the customer ID. So in this table, in the complaint table, complaint ID is the unique identifier. But so that they can know which customer made the complaint, they borrowed customer ID into complaint ID as a foreign key. Do you understand? So that they can know that, okay, so it was customer 3 that made complaint 7. Do you understand? I believe you do. So that is how foreign key works. Foreign key makes it such that we have referential integrity. Now I said primary keys help with data integrity, right? So that you don't have null values, you don't have repetition in your data, you have a unique identifier for each entry in your table. That's what the primary key does. Now, referential integrity is when the quality of the relationships in your data is solid, such that you don't have issues when you are trying to reference maybe which customer made which complaint, which country is in which region, things like that. It helps you assure that the relationships between all the tables in your database are proper and well defined. Please note, for every table, you can't have more than one primary key. You can have 2 columns, 3 columns. You can have multiple columns as your primary key, but you cannot specify 2 primary keys. So you can specify that, okay, for this column, for this table, I want column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as my primary key. And then the rest, they are just data. But you cannot say column 1 is primary key and then still come back and put it that column 2 is primary key. No, you have to make, if you are using more than one primary key, name all of them together as one primary key. But in a table, you can have plenty foreign key. You're not limited to one foreign key. You know, each foreign key is a primary key in its respective table. Do you understand? So now let's look at our databases, and then our database will try to identify the things that are primary keys and foreign keys so that we can know how the relationship in our database works. Don't save, I'm not saving the changes. Okay, so but before we do that, I talked about select queries in the last class. I don't know if we were able to play our videos till that point, but select queries are the data manipulation, it's part of the data manipulation languages. It is how we talk to SQL, how we talk to databases to retrieve data from it and to manipulate data from it. So data manipulation, people call SQL SQL, some people call it SQL. Whichever one you call it is fine. Data manipulation languages are the query languages that we use to talk to databases to retrieve the data we need and manipulate the data and the result sets we want to see. So for you to query a database, you need to start with select, meaning give me this, select, and then you mention the name of the columns you want to select from, and then you reference the table you want to select from. So let's look at some queries here. Oh, sorry, tired. It's sorry for yawning. I want us to run some simple queries from our database. So we're using, let me start a new script. Yeah. So if you've closed all of your script and everything has disappeared, just come here and click new script so that I can have a new place to start executing your queries. So we've seen this table. We want to pull record from, we don't know all of the tables, we don't know what they look like. So we want to pull record from these tables. So I'm going to say I want to select everything from the table so that I see what the table is like. So I can select all the code to select all is just to put an asterisk. Select asterisk from, and then you write the name of the table referencing the database from class underscore HR dot from database dot table. So I want to select from countries. That's what I want. That's the record I want to see. So now that I'm done writing the query, I just need to run it. So this tells SQL, this asterisk tells SQL to bring out everything in the table, right? But now that I've seen that the table only has 3 columns, I can still now say, okay, I don't want to see everything in the table. I just want to see the countries that are present. So I can select countries, country ID, be country name, country underscore name. Maybe I want to see the country name and then the region ID. Maybe I want to see the country name and the region that they fall into. From what's the name of my database and my table, Obanjesu? Is Obanjesu here? If he's not here, Empress. Okay, Empress just joined. Esther. Esther.
Yes, what did you say?
So what's the name of the database and what's the name of the table that I want to pull these results from?
The database is Empress HR.
No, the database is not Empress HRO. That's the connection name.
Okay, class underscore HR.
Yes, that's the database dot
No, leave it.
countries. So the table that has the result set that I'm looking for is countries. So if I run this, this will not give me everything in the table. I've already told you that I only want country name and region ID. And those are the specific things it gave to me. It gave me, even though there are other records in the table, it only gave me what I requested, the country name and the country like ID. Now, this is a data manipulation language. I could manipulate my results to give me the exact thing that I want to see. So there is also there are a lot of languages in the data manipulation language. You can specify where, like I talked about how where works like if statements in the database. You can put a clause that, okay, I want to select a particular table, a particular column from a table, but I just want only the values that are within this range. So let's assume that it is a student exam results that is in the database. Maybe they took a course and then you want to see who passed. Maybe you want to see the top 10 students. I mean, you want to see the people who scored over 70%. So you can tell SQL to give you, you can write, if the data is spread that, okay, let's say for this table now, I want to see the country name and country region, but I only want the region where, maybe I only want region 2 or region 1. Do you understand? I can still specify specifically what I want. That, okay, give me country name and region ID from this table, and then I put the where clause. The where clause helps me to specify the exact thing I want. So I can say where region ID is 2. It's supposed to be equal like typo. I went to type minus. Okay, so if I say, okay, select for me where region is 2, if I run this, it will only give me the countries that are in region 2. If I say, okay, I want the countries that are only in region 4, and I run that, it will only give me the countries that are in region 4, even though there are lots of values in the table. It's only giving me what I need. Maybe they're now saying, okay, the countries we have, maybe you're working for World Health Organization and they have a lot of countries in their database and they've grouped them into regions, into continents and all. And they say, okay, we want only countries in Africa. And they have gone to check region table. And you've seen that it is region 4 that is countries in Middle East and Africa. You know, these were foreign keys coming because region ID is the foreign key in countries ID. You can use region 4 to select countries in Africa. I'll just say, okay, name, this is the table for countries in Africa, country name and region ID. So now I want everybody to unmute and ask me questions on the parts that they are not clear on so far. How to use select from and where. Phillips. Esther.
Yes.
Are you clear?
I understand. In fact, I've not tried this here, but I've done the select from the country region ID, so I got this. I mean, they
Ah,
tried to explain. But
you're not
yeah.
very audible. Maybe you're far from your microphone.
Oh, don't mind. This guy is here. Sorry. Can you hear
Sorry.
me now?
Yes, I can. You're very audible now.
Okay. So I said you were trying to explain that we don't want all the information. If you just want, we are just looking for a particular region ID, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So we can I mean, yeah, so we can always just go and check the region ID to know which country it falls, and then
Mm-hmm.
we use this query language. I mean, waiting they call up
Yes, you're correct. The
this
clause.
syntax
Don't worry.
where to the clause to bring out whatever we're looking for. So it's going to bring the all the country that are in that particular region 4 is going to display it, since we don't want everything. I mean, most especially in cases where we work with WHO and that have large databases. So
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that is that this that we've written now is called data manipulation language. So there's the select from, there is where you can order by. Okay, so let's even
this is my
say
laptop.
there are a lot of queries that you can actually write. So aside from the where clause, the where clause here now, I said where it is exactly equal to 4. So there is something else that I can put. So let's say they want, okay, regions between 2, and 4. I can actually specify that. It should select for me the country. Maybe I don't even want the region ID anymore. I just want the country name. I want the country names in this table where the region ID is between. So these things that are in blue, they are clauses in SQL. They have specific meanings and how they run. Between 2 and 4. You saw what I wrote, Abby. So let's run this and see if this query runs and the results that we will get. So all the countries here are the countries that are between 2 and they're between 2 and 4. So 1 will not be there. Let me put the region ID so that we see whether it is correct. So let me run it. See, because I just want to run this one, I'm putting the cursor at the beginning of the statement I want to run.
No,
And
no,
I'm
no,
using
no.
I'm using the second
Mm.
thunder. If you understand what I'm saying, Joe?
You get it.
Exactly. So doing this means that the query should run from where the cursor is pointing. Do you understand? If I put it here, it will run from the beginning. But here, you can see that there's only region 2, 3, and 4 in the results. Region 1 is not existing because that is what I want. Let's now say that we have a very, very long list, right? And this is the result I want. But I want it to give me, this now says 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. It's not ordered. Maybe I want it to order it by region, where I have the region with the highest number coming before the region with the lowest number. I can put order by. This is another clause in SQL. Order by. And then I specify the column. Order by region ID, right? By default, if I run this, it will order it in ascending order. But if I say, okay, order by descending, this is the code to order by descending. If I say order by descending, the results will come with 4 above and the minimum below, just the way we do in Excel. Do you understand? It's just that this time we're talking straight to the database. Right? So if you don't want to order by descending, if you want to order by ascending is ASC. You can see that it has sorted it in ascending order by region ID. If I don't want it to sort it by region ID, I want it to sort it by country name. I can specify that also. And when I run it, you'll see that my result set will be sorted by country name and not country ID. If I want it to be descending, is Zambia or Zimbabwe that will start instead of Argentina. So these kind of things come in very, very handy when you are querying large information and when you are querying a large database and you're looking for specific information. Do you understand? I hope that we are clear up to this point. Oludele Victory, are you clear?
I'm not clear, but probably I would watch because I'm not getting the listing on my system. I can't find. It's not even showing again. You asked me to restart. I've restarted, but it's still the same thing.
It's not connected to the
Well,
internet.
yeah, no, I have internet already, but it's not showing on the database. My SQL is not even showing again. It's just writing not connected, and I'm trying to fix it, but still not. It's not. There's nothing even showing on my SQL here.
It is well. So
There's
that
nothing in query one. I
Don't worry.
cannot, I don't know, the ones that we ran, I can't see that. I ran the other time, I can't see it again. It's saying no connection established under information.
It is well. Don't
Well,
worry. That's why
I'll
I
reward
put
the
people in groups. Don't you might not even need to rewatch the video. Your group members are here. Reach out to them. Try to do all of the things that I did again by yourself. And anyone you have issues with, reach out to them. The ones that they don't have issues with, they'll help you. The one that you can help them with, you help them so that we can all learn together, right? So I'll be sharing some activities based on what we have learned today. And you will write your scripts. You will create a script. You know the way you are used by using this database like this. You will use the database, you create a script, you click plus, create a new script, and you will write your scripts. So these scripts that are written now like this, if I want to save it, I will save it. I'll click on save and I'll name it as our first class practice so that I know. So you also save your own in the place you want to put it. I'm going to put my own on desktop so that I see it immediately I turn on my PC. So next class, when you come, you show me the script you wrote based on the activities that I gave you. Do you understand? So I'm going to be sharing some things now. So these are the exercises I want you to give. You know, I worked on the countries table. You will work on the employee table. You select all records from employee table. Don't worry, I'll type it out I'll send it as email. You select all records from employee table. You select the first name and let me even look at the employee table, what it looks like. Let me see what's in the employee table. Oh, wonderful. This is nice. Yes. So you select their first name, their last name, and their email, where their manager ID is 100, right? So I'll say how many employees have this, how many employees are under manager that his own ID is 100. Do you understand? I think they are like, let me see. So they are not even much. They are much. Oh. Anyway, so I'll give you like the actual activity that I want you to do, and then you submit it to me before tomorrow. It's something simple. You just select from, and you select the name of the database, and then the name of the table in the database. So you just,
Tomorrow.
yeah, before tomorrow, just tomorrow morning. Tomorrow when you wake up, you just open SQL, open the script and
Oh,
write select from
okay. Oh.
employee
Hmm.
table.
Hey, tomorrow. Okay.
You want to submit it next week. Ordinary select from.
Work with the full grand though.
It's select from, oh, it's not anything hard. It's just so that we know, I know that you practice what we learned today, and then we can go to another thing tomorrow. Because time has gone already. I would have said that you should come and do it here and now. I'll just tell you, show me your screen, and then you type your query there. But time has gone. So I'll give it to you as assignment, and you submit tomorrow. I'll just send it in the WhatsApp group. Don't worry, it's not hard. It's just select from. You already have your database. Remember to reference it. Even if you don't reference it, because you've already done use HR, class HR. Even though you see that there was this thing here before. There was the database name. But because I'm sure that there's only employee table, one employee table in this database, I can actually remove the database reference. And then if I run this query, it will still run. But best practice is for you to put the database reference. And that is because of when we'll start joining tables. Because we'll join tables in SQL so that we can have robust results. It is well. So I've come to the end of the class for today. I'm happy that we're all here finally. So fill in the attendance. I dropped this in the chat since. Try to fill in the attendance. All the people that are leaving and joining back, please don't forget to fill in the attendance. It is very,
What's the
very
topic for today?
important. Topic for
What's
today now is introduction to SQL.
in the door?
Okay.
Is introduction
What's
to
in the
SQL
door?
basic. That's it. So we
What's
learned
in
we
the
learned
door?
about primary keys, we learned
In
about
the
foreign
door.
keys, we learned how to create
Gabriel.
databases,
Ah,
how to create tables in a database, and how to input data into tables in a database. And then we learned how to query a database. That is what we are doing. All this select from. We are querying the database. We are telling the database to give you the information you need. Take, for instance, your office wants to promote the top performers, and you guys have branches in like 100 countries, and then you have more than 300 staff in each branch. You cannot be calling everybody's manager to be asking them questions now. Meanwhile, you cause beef because some people will be, so you want to promote her, you not promote me. The best thing to do is just to query the database and order the performance rating in descending order, pick the top three. You can even limit your results. I talked about that limit in the last class. I don't know if we watched that recording to that point where you put limits to three if you want only the three results. And you say that SQL gave me only three because I've told you to limit my query results to three. Do you understand? So that's how SQL works. SQL is not difficult. It speaks simple English. Eh? With practice, we'll get comfortable. God bless us all in Jesus' name. Don't worry, I'll give you an example in the activity I will share so that you just copy, paste, and edit, and it will be faster. Is that good?
stop it, Gabriel. Don't press anything, no.
Is that fine? Should I give you an example? Should I give you an example or I should not give an example?
I'll give example now.
Okay. You
What's
are the best. You are the
in the
bomb.
door?
I know you can do it even without
What's
example.
in the door?
So that's the end of our class. If anybody has any question.
I want to ask for
Ask away.
things. I don't say it's a stupid question.
There's no
So,
stupid question.
okay. In SQL, do we also do data cleaning?
Yeah, so we do data cleaning. We do data cleaning. So we use select queries to look for. Okay, so let's say that we don't want null values, and in some instances we're having null values. We can
Because
act, we can select it and then replace the wrong values with correct values. No, we can alter the table. I'm listening.
Okay, so the reason why I asked was that, due to the integrity of the data and everything that you said when we the using the VACA,
Variable character.
so that we are not. So I was thinking that there's not supposed to be any all these white duplicate white space and all. So that
Yeah.
was what I was asking. And then also in the case of maybe I don't know if anything bioinformatics is actually related to SQL. So
Bioinformatics uses data, so it's related. I'm listening.
okay, so because stop it. When we download some data sets from databases and
Mm-hmm.
there's always scattered research now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like while you were explaining, I was just thinking how the SQL can be used to do all this data thing. Because personally in my research, that is the that is the dilemma that I am now.
That you have right now. Sure, you see, you're
Yeah,
learning at the right time.
yeah. So like I really don't know what to do. I was just thinking about okay, is this something that I can use to do my data cleaning before carrying out whatever analysis I want to carry out. You
Yes.
understand? So that is what
Yes.
I
So
feel.
you can clean data with SQL. So there is a database here that I worked on, MD services. Some people did a
Mm,
survey and they gave wrong reports. So we
mm,
had to clean the data. Like, let me look at it, water quality here. So this is water quality table. This is just to view. We're not using this database. We're not using MD water services.
kind
Okay, it's not even, it's location, water source, yes. Or is it pollution? Yeah, it's well pollution. So there were some instances, this is cleaned, but before it was cleaned, there were instances where there were pollutants and the people who checked the water said the water was clean. They gave clean. Okay,
so,
see, this has not even been cleaned. So look at this record, this one that I highlighted in blue.
mm,
There is a chemical pollutant, right? And then there's a
mm,
biological pollutant, and the person that did the survey said it's clean when it's
mm,
supposed to be contaminated,
mm,
right? So I can filter for cases where the record says clean and there are still values in pollutants and biological. So when I see it, because with SQL, anything you change is changed forever. There's no undo. I'll just make a copy. I'll clean the copy. If I see the copy cleaned correctly, I'll just
mm,
copy that code and then go and paste it in the original table and then clean it. Do you understand? But you have to be able to filter, like to select the wrong or incorrect data. Do you understand what I'm saying?
yes, I do.
Exactly. So as we go deeper into it, you'd see cases where um we can actually clean data with everything that we did with Excel. With proper manipulation, we can do in SQL. Sometimes it's more difficult in SQL, especially pivot tables. Pivot tables are hard in SQL because there is no pivot table code. We have to use control flow statements. Now, control flow statements are not beginner friendly. They are advanced. See how we're struggling with just select queries. Ordinary select like this. Everybody is having like a bit of a difficult time. So I don't even know if we should do control flow statements because I'm worried that will confuse everybody. I just want us to be very, very fine with selecting and filtering data and then maybe joining tables. And then when we're fine with that, if our 1 month has not lapsed, that's why I'm not happy that we're revisiting what I taught last week. If our 1 month has not lapsed, I'll see if we can do control flow statements where we can now create pivot tables in SQL so that we can see summary of our results. See, SQL codes can run into 1,000 lines. What am I even saying? Can run long, 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 long. Well, there's nothing that you really can do with SQL. If it's to access the database and pull records with SQL, you can. The only thing you can do is you can't visualize data. Any other question? Phillips, Empress. I know Empress joined late. Aderoju. Empress Aderoju.
Me, I got lost in between, but
I
I can
don't
watch
see
again.
impress.
Yes.
Oh, me, I'm lost, like lost. But
This
I'll
one,
watch.
no, Tipe.
Don't worry.
There's
Empress Aderoju, Esther will walk you through it.
everything is just like magic to me. But
It's
I
not
will go through the
magic.
video.
It's not
You go through the
magic.
Empress is very bright. You go through the video, I understand.
Yeah,
They
it's not.
play.
And see, this is why I put us in groups. Anything you have issues with, there will be somebody in your group that even if they don't have perfect clarity, they have an idea, right?
Yeah.
So please reach out to people in your group. And ensure that your group members come to class so that if you're confused, they can find you. Group 2 is doing good. Group 1, there's room for improvement.
Group one na dem be baba o.
They did not come.
Mm.
They did not come to class today.
And because they know it now.
Okay. Oh.
We are beginners.
It is well. All right. So that's the end of our class. I'll stop recording and stop sharing.